Paulina Martinez. Today I'm going to be talking about learning groups, particularly in elementary schools. My main claim is that learning groups in elementary schools negatively affect children. I'm going to go ahead and define learning groups as groups of students with similar needs being brought together for a short amount of time. So this has been a recent issue, a recent dispute in the education community. There are a lot of reasons why learning groups are beneficial to students, but also a lot of reasons why learning groups are negatively affect children. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Specifically at Pomona and Pomona Unified School District, they actually just had a conference at the Pomona Fairplex. Heather Forbes was the speaker, and she's the author of the book Help for Building. And they discussed this. They discussed how students can have bad behavior, and they talk about what it results from. And what I'm going to be talking about today is that it comes from learning groups. So my first claim is that learning groups make it known to the class who is at what level. For example, beginning, intermediate, or advanced levels. Students at the lower level become discouraged. They think they are stupid, which is what a website actually used. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And groups only encourage lower level thinking. My second claim is that learning groups result in poor behavior from lower level students. Students don't understand why they aren't at the same level as the rest of the class. They stop trying and don't do their work, and they then become distractions and make outbursts and misbehave. So my first claim: teaching groups make it known to the class who is at what level. Education Northwest, a school improvement research series on learning groups, talked about a few things. Students with similar learning needs are the ones that are placed into certain groups. Also, they can be assigned based on their need for additional help. So this is how it is made clear to the students what group that they're in. A lot of the times, if they're at a lower level, they're going to be getting help from a tutor, from a class helper, while the rest of the class that is at a higher level is working on their own. They don't need this help. Therefore, students at the lower level will know that they're at the lower level. This is how students get discouraged. They know they're not where they're supposed to be. So an article by Great Schools, which is a website about elementary school students, the article is called Changing Children's Behavior in Schools, talks about how students at the lower level think they're stupid. That's the word that they used. So they know that, as I said before, that they're not where they're supposed to be, so that's what they assume, even though they don't know that they just need help. They assume that they're stupid. So a workshop website called Concept to the Classroom, which focuses on critical aspects of collaborative learning groups in the classroom, says that groups only encourage lower level thinking. So the way this works is that when you're in a lower level group, you can the teacher can only go so far as to what they teach you, because the students aren't understanding it, so they cannot focus on the higher level concepts that the rest of the students are working on. Therefore, they only encourage the lower level thinking, and that's where they stay. So my second claim: learning groups result in poor behavior from lower level students. The students don't understand why they aren't at the same level as the rest of the class. It doesn't make sense to them, although it might make sense to other people. And a statistic from Education Northwest, which I mentioned earlier, it's a school improvement research series on learning groups, says that the slowest 10% of students need 2.4 to 6 times more time as the highest 10%. So they are drastically behind the rest of the class. They then stop, because they are discouraged from doing their work. They stop trying. They don't want to do their work. They would rather sit there and not do anything than do something that they think, or not be able to do something because they struggle with it. As a result, they become distractions. They start misbehaving. They try to get attention, so they make outbursts. And so although groups are used in the classroom to assure that all students learn, they do negatively affect the children in their learning, because first of all, they discourage them. They then, so they're discouraged, they stop trying, and as a result, they become distractions to themselves and the classroom. Thank you.
Do you have an outline for me, by the way?
I can-
Okay.
oh,
The proposition is clearly labeled. The contents are previewed. I was a little confused because when you started previewing, you are also starting to explain each of those points, and it sounds like you're starting to make your argument. The preview should just be an indication of what the claims are. Save the explanation for when you get to that particular point. I thought your explanations were okay, and they rely a lot on hypotheticals, and in fact, those are the only kinds of examples that we get are hypothetical examples. There's a little bit of statistical information about time issues that the kids are involved with. But there's a lot of conclusionary stuff from some of the scholars that you cite talking about how these students give up, they get discouraged, all that sort of thing. And I'm sure that that happens on occasion, but I don't know how frequently it occurs. I don't know that it occurs with a greater preponderance because they're in groups than in any other situation. And I don't quite understand why it would be different if the kid is having the same kinds of problems and they're not in groups. They wouldn't be able to identify the same kinds of problems that they give up. For example, if they're not in groups, but they're still way behind everybody else in how long it takes them to do their work, or they never get their work done, or their grades are low, don't they still get discouraged? Why is it what is it about the group that makes it unique? That's the thing that I think you need to develop a little bit more on. The only thing that you have here is that the kids know which groups they're in, supposedly, because know how they're doing because of the groups that they happen to be in. And the idea that they wouldn't know for some other reason, I'm not exactly sure that is a safe premise to make. I think you do a nice job speaking to the audience for the most part, and like I said, you did cite your sources pretty effectively, and I thought the summary was also solid. Thank you.